justice. Love, true peace, freedom and 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 justice. Love, true peace, love, true peace, freedom and justice. Love, true peace, freedom and justice.
To the one who has redeemed us from our sinful ways, I speak to you about no other than the great prophet Noble Deuteronomy. You drink with fire, you will get burned. The prophet said, to follow me surely is life, not to follow me is death.
Do this! Well, something like this corporate name. Our corporate name was what? Anybody know? As a civic organization?
The Moorish Temple of Science, Temple of America.
Nope, wrong.
The Moorish Temple of Science.
Yes. Got it? The prophet never filed this name. But his charter says Moorish Holy Temple of Science. And the artwork is the same. After 1928, the prophet changed his corporation from a civic corporation to a religious corporation. And the charter reflects the name that was filed. What is the name, the corporate name of the prophet's organization? Anybody?
Moorish Science Temple of America.
Who said that? Say it again.
The Moorish Science Temple of America.
Are they correct?
Say it again.
That's why I said. Our corporate name is what now?
Moorish Science Temple of America.
Not the Moorish Science Temple of America. It's a big difference. If you look on your authority, the back of the questionnaire, our religious organization is Moorish Science Temple of America. Let's talk about that. Do you know when you incorporate in the state of Illinois, I don't know other states, you must have ink or corp behind your name. Did you know that? In order for the state to file it. Legally, they cannot file Moorish Science Temple of America. So, Moorish Science Temple of America was never filed in the state. Islam? It was filed where?
County.
As Moorish Science Temple of America. This we had framed for teaching purposes. Moorish Holy Temple of Science of what?
The world.
Before I knew about the Moorish Science Temple of America, I had heard about this charter. And I had heard that Baba Bey of 957 East 75th Street had the Moorish Holy Temple of Science of the world. And it was the only copy ever. And that he cut it up and lost it. This was 1979, 1980. Not knowing what temple number 1 was, I said, that's dreadful. We don't have our charter of the world. One day we went to the lockbox and brought a box over to go through it to see what was in there. And that was a tube, a long tube that says Moorish Science Temple of America, 3603, Chicago, Illinois, from Universal Studios, New York, New York. Opened the tube, and it was a whole lot of these inside. So what did that say? They did not know, like many people didn't know, that temple number 1 authenticity lied in the records. Today you see records on the internet dispensing them around the country. Like the first and original questionnaire. They talk about the European. Y'all seen that, I'm sure.
Yes, sir.
It says, it says different things that this questionnaire says. I can tell you, from what I know, you should be careful trying to change anything that the prophet did. Very careful. So, you have all of these symbols here that represent what? You said 10 houses. You? Right. 10 wonders of the world. And the last hieroglyphic, that's what they call it, out of the 10 is who? Came up here and looked at this charter. That's the main part you missed. If you haven't looked at it, him, his face in this body, come up and look at it now. It's taped. It's cut out and it's posted on top of this man here.
It is this red background, but it's overlapping by
The red background is what? Symbolic of what?
Fire.
Fire. And what is he doing, symbolically speaking?
He's holding back the wrath of
Holding
Allah.
back the fire. So what did I just say? That's one part of the sign language. I believe that communication with our people should be taught in different languages, and those who can't hear or speak, sign language. When the prophet's arms are like this sign means what?
He's standing his ground.
It means love.
Love.
And most of your pharaohs that are in the tomb, they're buried like this. Love. Who's love? Allah's love.
His is right over left.
It don't make any difference. Let's talk about one more house on this chart. Let's talk about the house of endurance. It's represented by what?
The Bactrian camel.
Ain't a camel a camel? How many types of camels is it?
Two.
Two? What are they called?
One hump, two hump.
Is that correct? Who agreed? Who disagreed? Sister Diane, why you disagree?
A one-hump camel is called a dromedary, and a two-hump camel is called a Bactrian camel.
Exactly. Now, everybody know that the camel's native land is Arabia, correct?
No, America.
Wrong.
America.
Who said no? So, I'm sorry, the native land for a camel is the land of Shabazz in Arabia, is that right?
Wrong.
Answer. The native land for the Bactrian camel is North America. That's where you missed out. You wasn't specific. The story goes that Abraham Lincoln had the last of them killed. But if you Google it, you would find that this is the native land for the two-humped Bactrian camel. More scientists study. We deal with the facts and not how you feel. Any questions on these charters? Symbolism? Because it's going to take too long to talk about the guts. The original 15 temples had these charters. All of them. Number 7, where Crenshaw Hill is from. Number 9, this was the only charter. From 1925, all the way up. This was the only charter you could get. But when the prophet changed the corporation to Moorish Science Temple of America, and when he knew he was going to pass in July 1929, he called Melio to his private chambers. And as you read, he spoke to Miliel through his mighty Godheads, Miliel being his supreme grand sheik and chairman. And one of the things he told Miliel to do was to correct those charters. So when we went into the archives, we got letters from every time, that month, August. The prophet passed July 20th, 1929. From August to September before convention, Miliel called trains to each of the 15 temples' location to do what? To change those charters. This was one of them. And to change it to the next convention after the second one. If you look closely at the charter here, Moorish Science Temple of America is a piece of paper taped over Moorish Holy Temple of Science. And if you look in the guts where it was Moorish Holy Temple of Science, that's also typed in Moorish Science Temple of America, and it's pasted in there. And then after he pasted it in there, he signed it in red. What year did he sign it in?
1929.
1929. What month?
September 15th.
September the 15th through the 20th, the second annual national convention. So, if there is a Moorish Science Temple of America out there, hi baby, if there's one out there who claim to be original temple of the 15, they must have this charter, and it must be signed by Miliel, and it must have September 15th to the 20th, 1929.
Yes. 15th to what?
20th, 1929. Convention. That was the order. That was the first order of business at the second convention of the Moorish Science Temple of America. The first one was in 1928. The second one was in 1929. September. There's never been a convention held in October after the first one because the prophet changed the dates himself. Miliel's response was, the only thing that I think should be done, that it should be what?
Made law.
Made law. This is from Miliel. This is June 24th, 1931. Islam governors and heads of all temples, in honor of our divine prophet Noble Jurali, the date of his passing, which was the 20th day of July 1929, in obedience to his divine words and promise, wherein he said, those that pay their divine respect and the movement will be remembered. Therefore, in honor of him and the cause for which he came to represent, the grand body of the Moorish Science Temple of America is calling attention to local bodies to show him your divine respect on that day. In honor of your God Allah, whom we praise for his infinite mercy shown us, by sending to us this Prince of Peace, our Redeemer, and the greatest of all our times. Love to all, peace, Miliel, Supreme Grand Sheik. So, how did the Moors begin to honor our prophet Noble Jurali on that day of July 20th? Starts at 8 o'clock. We stop at 5 minutes to 10. 5 minutes after 10. And from 10:05 to 10:10 is where we stand in silence and meditate. So that's the significance of this letter. From now on, where's the letter at? You got gloves on?
It's on the book.
Bring it up here. From now on, if you want to handle it, you're going to have to come up here. According to the laws and customs of the Grand Temple number 1, you can do that. But it is not in the Prophet's law. It is our custom. Islam?
Islam.
I'm going to read a real hot one to you.
Yeah.
That I think is hot. Brother A. Smith Bay, my dear brother, I'm able to be getting about again, thanks to the eternal God that ruled the heavens and the earth and many worlds. I am also pleased to announce that my God won for me this last case. They thought they had against me before Judge Philip J. Finnegan. Say, what's wrong with you? I have been sick, very sick, then attending court, getting better now. And I am about to resume my duties again. It seemed to me you all got sore because I put you next to a lot of lies and junk. I did you a real friendly set act because you didn't know J. Givens-Hill. You didn't know J. Givens-Hill, who is an arch devil. And whatever I tell you or told you is true will stand inspection any place. I hope to hear better news of you all, and I am exceedingly glad to know I stand as a wall of brass in defense of my God, his prophet. Let me hear from you at once. Emil, Supreme Grand Chief. Any questions, any comments? The prophet. That the prophet talks about the devil, who the devil is, and who represents the devil. Okay, you can say that Elijah had to have taken his knowledge about that subject from Juali, because when Juali asked a series of questions, who were Adam and Eve? And the answer is they are the ones who brought about a discord and were cast out of the holy city of Mecca. Then he asked, where did they go? They said they went into Rome, into Europe. And what is the color of their skin? Pale. And what else?
What is the name of the children? Rome.
Romans. And what else?
Question is,
Who was guarding the holy city of Mecca?
descendants of
Keep the unbelievers away?
But you give the descendants of Adam and Eve. Lucifer, Satan, devil, dragon, and beast. And what people represent the Lord self.
those who were cast out of the holy city, those who accepted their teaching.
But now there's a greater understanding of that. But right away, those who took that on the surface said, he's pale skinned, he's in Europe, he's the devil.
Wrong. Seeking who he may become.
But if you look at it on the scale, and this is how you can have a better understanding, does anyone in here have a lower self?
Yes.
Raise your hand if you got a lower self. And what is the lower self sometimes called?
Devil.
So the devil don't have to be a pale skin. It could be me and you.
That's right.
With those actions of hatred. One of the Prophet Jurali's chauffeur who drove one of his two Cadillacs in that era, in that time, 1925, 26. He worked as a mechanic. And when the Prophet passed, as the story goes, he was underneath the car and on one of them things that roll, I guess. And he came out there and he says he was Jurali reincarnated, that the Prophet Jurali's spirit then jumped in his body. Yeah. And you asked me to explain that. This is how the story goes. Now, I didn't make the story up. And that it jumped in his body, and he's now the Prophet Noble Jurali. And y'all better start following me, else I'm going to cut some heads off. And today at Burr Oak Cemetery, they got a whole big old thing, mausoleum built for him, and it's confusing. No, what I'm referring to is a letter that his father wrote to the Prophet, which comes out to our archives. Well, he's addressing Prophet Noble Jurali,
Oh, yeah.
and he's asking the Prophet where's his son? He hadn't seen him, and that he was mentally touched. He wanted to see him. Given zeal, as Sister Diane said he was reincarnated. And he's supposed to have disrupted the second convention. And they tell the story. If you accept J. Gibbons Hill as a reincarnated prophet, that would have to be referred to in the Divine Constitution bylaws. And it would have to be in Act 1. So if he is the reincarnated prophet, which would be an office, that office must continually be filled. Now what happened was, Miliel called him a devil. We just read it in the letter. Said he was no good. Because if you look at it on the legal side and on the order of things, to have a reincarnated prophet means that all the offices in Act 1 are null and void. Because a reincarnated prophet would not have reference to the Grand Sheik. Act 1 says Grand Sheik and Chairman is empowered to what? So it should read reincarnated prophet is empowered to make law and enforce laws. That's why you can't have it. J. Gibbons Hill later on teamed up with yours truly, Elijah Poole Bey, now known as Elijah Muhammad. And they had planned to get together. Now, according to Honor Bontemps' book, Doubleday published in 1947, he says that in 1930, a year after, which is when Gibbons Hill popped up, Farad Muhammad claimed to be the prophet reincarnated. Now, I didn't write that. I read it. Gibbons Hill and Elijah were working together to try to make what they would consider some significant changes in the way Islam was given to the people. They developed their own principles, even to this day. They call them freedom, justice, and equality, which is the last two principles of what? Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Then they added equality. They were on their way, so to speak. They had the same, similar to headdress. We talked about that for the women later on. I'm going to stop there because we got a lot of stuff here. Any questions? Kept their vague. Actually, technically speaking, all of our brothers and sisters in the Nation of Islam are technically Moors. All of them. But when the Europeans saw how fast this thing was growing and pop rolling and whipping, he said, I got to cut this off. I got to give them this. I got to take away from this from them. He said, I got to stop this thing the way this thing is rolling like a railroad. Non-stop. And today, that's what separates us from our people. But when you read the interior literature of what he has, you can hear more science all the way in there. Bits and pieces, you can hear that. And I'm told I wasn't around it. We ain't mad at none of them, y'all. So remember that. When you see your brother and sister, greet them. You can say Islam, but also say the greeting that they give you too. If they say Assalamu alaikum, say Wa alaikum salam. Islam. Give them theirs and give them yours. But don't disrespect your brother or your sister. And don't let that separate you. Just like if your brother's sister is eating a small end with wild sauce, don't let that stop you from embracing your brother. But if you caught it, I think you want to think twice about smooching, huh? We read this yesterday, but we're going to read it again. This is Miliel's views on communism. This is November the 17th, 1931. My hip is hurting a little bit, so that's why I got this cane.
You want a chair?
No, I like standing for you all. I probably had to explain it to you, huh? So you wouldn't think I was trying to be cool. Brother A. Smith Bey, my dear brother, I am attempting to answer your letter in reply. I would like for you to inform me if those people are residents of Sharon Hill or Philadelphia. Anybody from Philadelphia here?
From below that area.
You know where Sharon Hill is?
Yes, sir.
And how many in number? You see, brother, we must be careful. We must be so careful now about Islam because it is divine and very important. And it is to be lived just as the divine laws read. It must be practiced every day by all who claim it. Now, we haven't anything to say against the communists, but if they want Islam, they will have to be one thing or the other. Now, if you have joined the communists, they can't follow in spirit and truth the great principles of the Prophet for many reasons. And yet we have nothing in common against these people, for they have their work to do, and we have ours. And all must know their work and have a clear conception of your position in life, and that you are, and what you are to do. Obviously, A. Smith Bay was interested in the Communist Party and was hobnobbing. Emilio continues to write him. But if they want to be a communist, then they don't need to bother with Islam. And for the same reason you mentioned in your letter, because we are not supposed to mix. Is that right, Diane?
I've never heard that before. This is the first I've heard of that.
Okay. But when he says we're not supposed to mix, is that right? And all organizations, and although these organizations, I am told, want you to drop the principles and doctrine of our prophet. And that will never do. So you see, for reason alone, you could be a party or a part of it. And please tell them, anyone bringing to them anything that they claim you have to let your nationality go, you tell them, pass on. But the best policy is stay in the temple. And tell them also that the Prophet said Islam was all they would need from this time on. Islam changing the world from that time on. And any other doctrine or plans brought to them would only serve as a test for them. And the best policy for them would be to follow the Prophet in all things all the way. And for your credentials, you don't need any at this time. And to tell the real truth about the situation, the Prophet said he's not issuing any more credentials. I have perfect knowledge of some of these orders having been filled since he spoke those words, and everyone has gone astray. Why am I insisting here in the grand body, a man the Prophet put on the platform to speak for him, and he didn't give him away, and he hastened any yet? The Prophet had a reason for whatever he said or did, but we were not always told why he said many things. But I can witness his words and works, and I never known them to fail us yet. Then if we would be right and protected by his word, do as he tells you. Now if those people want a temple there in that town, they have to let the other organizations go. Because Noble Jurali said he wanted Islam and that is it. So let us, the Moorish Science Temple of America, know that what they desire, and I will be glad to cooperate with them. Any comments or questions or statements?